Hello, it is the Apostle Paul here again. In my letter to the Romans, I often talk about how the law shows us where we go wrong and sin. Today we will think about the law, what the law is, and how it helps us to live our lives in a way that pleases God.
A long time ago, in the time of the Old Testament, God rescued his special people Israel from slavery in Egypt. You would think that the Israelites were very grateful for that and would want to please God, but instead they did many things that were wrong and that displeased God. One day, God called Moses, their leader, up a very high mountain called Sinai, where he gave Moses 10 commandments, 10 good rules to live by. The first 2 commandments were about honouring God, and the other 8 were about how to treat your fellow human beings. The 10 rules went like this. Love God more than you love anything else. Don't make anything in your life more important than God. Always say God's name with love and respect. Honour God by resting on the 7th day of the week. Love and respect your parents. Don't hurt anyone. Always be faithful to your husband or wife. Don't take anything that isn't yours. Always tell the truth. Be content with what you have. Don't wish for other people's stuff. The Israelite people tried to follow the commandments that God had given to Moses, but they failed. In fact, these basic rules are very hard to keep for anyone. If they broke any, they were found guilty and punished, just like we are punished if we have done something wrong. As a payment for their mistakes and sins, they would bring an offering, which often was a small animal, to the priests, who would sacrifice these on their behalf to pay for their shortcomings. The animal would symbolically take their sin and die in their place, so that they could be good with God again. Nobody on this earth was able to keep the commandments. That is, until Jesus Christ came to live on this earth. Because Jesus was both God and human, he was perfect, someone who did not make any mistakes or committed any sins. In Israel, there were many teachers of the law. They were called Pharisees, and over the years they had made many more rules in addition to the 10 commandments. These included rules about what to wear, what to eat, how to clean and how to harvest your crops. They covered every aspect of life. Together with the 10 commandments, they were called the law. The Pharisees found it more important that people kept these laws in every little detail, down to the last dot and comma, than that they lived their lives loving God and their neighbour in everything they did. The Pharisees lived by the letter of the law, thinking it was enough to do what the laws said literally. Jesus, however, said we should live in the spirit of the law, to live as the law was intended. Jesus challenged the Pharisees, and also us today, and said, "The law says, don't murder, and you think you have kept this commandment because you haven't taken anyone's life. But you don't mind calling your neighbour worthless, which is hurtful and disrespectful, and equal to taking his life. Instead, you should always seek what is best for him. You say you haven't stolen anything, but you look at your brother's car and you wish you had one too. So in your heart of hearts, you have in fact already stolen it. Don't take what does not belong to you, but rather help others reach their potential and do well in life." So Jesus says that it is equally bad to break the law in your thoughts as it is to break the law in your actions. The 10 Commandments show us how to live, but at the same time they show us how often we get it wrong and how short we fall of the expectations God has for us. Because God is a just God, which means he cannot stand sin, God said that one day we would all die as a punishment for our sins. Unless someone would pay the price for us and would take our sins upon himself and die in our place, like the animals brought for sacrifice in the Old Testament. Although we all deserve to die as a punishment for our sins, Jesus died on the cross in our place. He took our punishment for all the wrong things we have done and declared us to be not guilty. He has taken our sins away. All this shows in a wonderful way that God is not only a just God, but above all a loving God who wants to care for you and wants you to respond to his love. Now that really is something to shout about.